Welcome students to the second chapter, that is interior of the earth. In this chapter we will try to understand the composition of the interior of the earth. When we talk about interior of the earth, we say inside of the earth. So, our learning objectives for today will be introduction. Students, as we know that our scientists have studied heavenly bodies which are millions of miles away from Earth, equipped with powerful telescopes and probes. They were able to reach and examine the solar system and beyond. This module will help you to visualize and understand the composition and structure of the Earth's interior. Also, it will help you to describe the different layers of Earth as well as understand their characteristics. Next, sources of information. The knowledge about the interior of the earth is obtained through direct sources and indirect sources. And we are also going to study about the different layers of the earth. The different layers of the earth are the crust, that is the uppermost layer of the Earth's surface is in solid state and it is called as the crust. The crust is subdivided into continental and oceanic crust. Then we have mantle, that is below the crust lies the mantle. Mantle can be divided into two layers, that is upper and lower mantle. And the last we have the core. The core starts from around the depth of about 2900 kilometers from the Earth's surface. The part of the Earth's interior extending from the mantle up to the center of the Earth is called the core. Students, as we know that our Earth was formed approximately 4.6 billion years ago. Our scientists unanimously believe that the Earth was formed out of the solar system itself. Initially, Earth was a gaseous hot balloon. It cooled down as it rotated around itself. The process of cooling took place from the outer surface towards the Earth's center. As a result, the outer layer of the Earth became cooler and solid. But as we move from surface to the interior, heat increases and at certain depths the interior of the earth is in semi-liquid. Sources of information about the interior of the earth. Students, as we know that the knowledge about the interior of the earth is obtained through direct sources and indirect sources. Now, what are direct sources? Direct sources include rock materials from mining areas. What are mining areas? Mining areas means extractions or removal of coal from its natural deposits. So, direct sources includes rock materials from mining areas and molten magma from volcanic eruptions. Besides, scientists are working on deep ocean drilling projects. Now, what is deep ocean drilling? That means extraction of sediments from deep core of the oceans. So, these projects have provided information about the interior of the earth through analysis of materials collected at different depths. And indirect sources, which include gravitation, magnetic field. What is magnetic field, students? Here means magnetic field is a vector field that describes the magnetic influence or electric charges in relative motion. So, the direct sources include gravitation, magnetic field and seismic activity. Seismic activity means seismic waves. They are also called as earthquake waves. Seismic waves are waves of energy that travel through the earth's layer. Most of our information about the earth interior has come from seismic studies. So students, see the picture carefully. How does an onion look like when it is cut? Yes, we see that it has many layers inside. Similarly, the interior of the earth is also divided into many layers. Let us learn about them in detail. Students, you can see here the diagram showing the structure of the earth's interior. The structure of the earth is divided into four major components. That is, the first, that is the crust. Then below the crust we have mantle, and below the mantle we have outer core and inner core. Each layer has its unique composition, physical state, and can impact life on the earth's surface. Student, observe the picture carefully. Now, as we know that we live on the earth's surface, but what exactly is below us? Below the earth's surface is the interior, right? Think of it as a hard boiled egg. If you tear and open the egg, you will see different layers. Similarly, there is the shell, that is the crust of the earth, the egg white, that is the earth's mantle, and the yolk, that is the earth's core. Students, while going from the earth's surface to its core, major changes occur in temperature and density. With respect to these two elements, the earth's interior can be divided into following layers. The layers of the interior of the earth are the crust, the mantle, and the core. The crust, the uppermost layer of the earth's surface, is in solid state and it is called the crust. The crust is subdivided into two more layers, that is continental crust and oceanic crust. Then we have mantle. The mantle, below the crust lies the mantle. The mantle can be divided into two layers, that is the upper and the lower mantle. Then last we have the core. The core, the part of the earth's interior extending from the mantle up to the center of the earth, is the core. This layer can be divided into outer core and inner core. So in this way, the different layers of the interior of the earth are formed. Let us learn all the layers in detail. Students, observe the picture carefully. This is the crust, which is the thinnest, outermost layer of the earth that extends from surface to about 32 kilometers below. Students, as we know that the uppermost layer of the earth's surface, which is in a solid state, is called the crust. The earth crust is just like the skin of an apple. It is very thin in comparison to the other three layers. The thickness of the crust is not the same everywhere. On an average, it is 30 to 35 kilometers thick. The thickness of the crust below the continents is from 16 to 45 kilometer, 40 kilometer under the mountain ranges, and less than 10 kilometer under the oceans. As we move deeper under the surface, temperature increases. After that, the rate of the increase in temperature reduces and again increase in the core. The crust is the thinnest of all the layers when compared to the mantle and the core. It can be divided into two sublayers. The crust is the thinnest of all the layers when compared to the mantle and the core. The crust can further divided into two parts, that is the continental crust and the oceanic crust. Students, let us learn about the continental crust. Now what is continental crust? The layer of rock which forms the continents. Okay. So the continents are mainly composed of silica and aluminium. That is, Si stand for silica and Al stands for aluminium. Because of the high proportion in this layer, the layer was earlier known to be as Sal. The density of continental crust is 2.65 to 2.90 grams per centimeter cube. The thickness of this layer is approximately 30 kilometers. The rock which we mostly found in this layer is granite rocks. Students, now let us understand what is oceanic crust. You can see in the picture arrow indicating the oceans, right? So what is oceanic crust? A thin layer of crust that overlies the ocean basin. It is the second layer of the crust. It is made up of silica and magnesium. It was earlier called SEMA, that is, Si stand for silica and Ma stand for magnesium. This layer is approximately 5 to 10 kilometers thick. The density of this layer is 2.9 grams per centimeter cube to 3.3 grams per centimeter cube. In this layer, basalt and gabbro rocks are mainly found. Students, these are the rocks which are mainly found in the continental and oceanic crust. You can see on the left hand side the granite rock which is mainly found in the continental crust. The other two rocks, that is the basalt rock and the gabbro rock, are mainly found in the oceanic crust. Now, students, we will understand the concept of lithosphere. Now, lithosphere is derived from the Greek word lithos, which means rock. So, what is lithosphere, students? It is a rigid outer part of the earth consisting of the crust and the mantle. Students, you can see in the picture indicating the lithosphere, right? All of the rock on the earth from the mountains to the sea floor is included in the lithosphere. Now students, let us understand what is mantle. Below the crust lies the mantle, as you can see in the picture. Mantle extends to about 2900 kilometers from the earth's surface. It makes up 80% of the earth's total volume and about 68% of its total mass. The mantle is the largest layer of the earth. The mantle is mainly made up of silicate rocks. Mantle can be divided into two layers, that is upper mantle and the lower mantle. Students, as we know that our mantle is divided into two layers, you can see in the photograph, that is the upper mantle and the lower mantle. The top of the upper mantle is a solid rock, that is lithosphere. The rest of the upper mantle is made up of melted rock. The lower mantle is made up of the solid rock. Now, we will see the upper mantle and the lower mantle in detail. Students, let us understand what is upper mantle. You can see in the photograph arrow indicating the upper mantle. Upper mantle begins just beneath the crust and ends at the lower mantle. The upper layer is more in the liquid state. Here one finds magma chambers. It is through these chambers that magma comes out on the earth's surface during volcanic eruption. Students, let us understand what is asthenosphere. Now what is asthenosphere? It is the part of the upper mantle located below the crust of the earth. You can see in the picture, students. The asthenosphere is highly viscous, mechanically weak and ductile region of the upper mantle of the earth. Now what is viscous? Viscous is the sticky consistency between the solid and liquid. Mechanically weak and ductile. Now what is ductile? That is able to change of form without breaking. So the asthenosphere is highly viscous, mechanically weak and ductile region of the upper mantle of the earth. It lies below the lithosphere at depth between approximately 80 to 200 kilometers below the surface. So, In this layer, students, the internal energy is released, which are due to the endogenetic movements. Now, what is endogenetic movements? The movements which are occurring in the interior of the earth, and because of this, in this layer, we find mountain buildings, rifts, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, etc. Convection currents. Now, what is convection current, students? Mantle convection currents describes the movement of mantle as it transfer heat from the white hot core to the brittle lithosphere. The mantle is heated from below, cooled from above, and its overall temperature decreases over a long period of time. All these elements contribute to mantle convection. So, the middle layer, you can see that in the picture it flows because of the convection currents. The convection currents are caused by the very hot material at the deepest part of the mantle rising, then cooling, and again sinking. So, this process is repeated like a cycle over and over again. Students, now let us understand what is lower mantle. Now, you can see in the picture arrow indicating the lower mantle. It is below the upper mantle and above the core. The lower mantle is hotter and denser than the upper mantle. The lower mantle is much less ductile than the upper mantle. Now, what is ductile, students, means here? It is a sticky consistency that is able to change or form without breaking. Lower mantle is the liquid inner layer of the earth below the surface. In this layer, it is inferred that the temperature is about a depth of 2400 to 2900 kilometers and around 22 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. Here, there is a sudden change in the structure and density of material. Because of increasing pressure, the density of lower mantle is about 5.7 grams per centimeter cube. The core. Now, what is core, students? The core is the central or innermost part of the earth. Lying below the mantle is the core. The core starts from around the depth of about 2900 kilometers from the earth's surface. The thickness of the core is about 3471 kilometers. The core is subdivided into two layers, that is the inner and the outer core. Now, students, let us understand what is the outer core. You can see in the picture arrow indicating the outer core. The outer core is the third layer of the earth. It is the only liquid layer and is mainly made up of metals like iron and nickel. The outer core extends from around 2900 kilometers to 500 kilometers. There are waves which cannot pass through the core. They get absorbed in this region. This has led the scientists to believe that the core could be in liquid in nature. The waves which travel through this layer reduces their speed when passing through this layer. The density of outer core is 9.8 grams per centimeter cube. The temperature of the liquid outer core is around 5000 degrees Celsius. The outer core is mainly responsible for the Earth's magnetic field. So now, students, as we have learned that the outer core of the Earth's interior is in a liquid state and the proportion of iron is more in this layer. Vertical currents originate in this liquid layer. This is the another characteristics of this area. The difference between the temperatures of the outer and the inner core give rise to vertical currents. The Earth's rotation gives a circular motion, right? So, electric currents are developed in the spiral of the liquid iron and thus magnetic field is generated. This magnetic field of the earth is functional even outside the earth's surface for a quite distance. As a result, a cover develops around the earth because of the magnetic field. The earth's atmosphere is protected from the solar coming winds from the sun. The magnetic field thus developed around the earth is called the magnetosphere. So, the earth has a north and the south pole magnetic. It is trapped by many charged particles from the sun, which protects us from the harmful solar radiation. As we know that the gravitation force is not the same at different latitudes. It is greater near the poles and lesser at the equator. The reason is because the earth is not a perfect sphere. It is bulged at its center, so its distance from the center and the equator is comparatively more than the poles. The gravity keeps on changing as we move from one place to another, but it is maximum at the place where it is nearer to the center. As a result, the gravity is more at the poles and less at the equator. The gravity value also differs according to the mass of the material, and we know that materials are unevenly distributed on the earth. Therefore, we can say that materials found at the poles have a higher mass compared to the materials found at the equator. And that's why you will see that the North and the South Pole are rich in natural resources. Now let us see what is inner core, students. Now inner core is the fourth layer, as you can see in the picture, inside the earth. Inner core extends from around 5,150 kilometers to the depth of around 6,371 kilometers. It is the core of the earth which is in a solid state. The density of this sphere is around 13.3 grams per centimeter cube. Iron and nickel are the major elements found here. Therefore, this layer is called as knife. That is, Ni stand for nickel and Fe stands for iron. As the material in this layer are under extreme pressure, the inner core is in solid state. The temperature here is almost equivalent to the surface temperature of the sun. Students, let's have a recap of what we have studied. We have studied that when we go deep into a mine, we feel an increase in temperature. Similarly, the magma coming out of volcanoes from the Earth's interior is hot. Geologists made these estimations. Seismic waves travel through the interior of the Earth. The study of the direction and velocity help us to estimate about the interior of the Earth. We also studied that the layers of the Earth have been divided into three main parts, that is the crust, the mantle and the core. Let us see first the crust. We studied that the uppermost layer of the earth surface is in a solid state and it is called the crust. The thickness of the crust is not the same everywhere. On an average, it is 30 to 35 kilometers thick. It is the thinnest of all the layers when compared to the mantle and the core. The crust is divided into two layers, that is the continental crust and the oceanic crust. The continental crust are formed mainly with the continents. The continents are mainly composed of silica. Silica is a compound of silicon elements and aluminium. Because of the high proportion in this layer, the layer was earlier known as soil. The density of continental crust is 2.65 to 2.90 grams per centimeter cube. Mainly granite rocks are found here. Oceanic crust, this is the second layer of the crust. It is made up of silica and magnesium. It was earlier called as sima. This layer is approximately 7 to 10 kilometers thick. The density of this layer is 2.9 grams per centimeter cube to 3.3 grams per centimeter cube. In this layer, basalt and gabbro rocks are mainly found. Next, we have a mantle. Below the crust lies the mantle. Mantle is divided into two layers, that is the upper mantle and the lower mantle. The upper layer is more in the liquid state. One finds here magma chambers. It is through these chambers that the magma comes out on the earth's surface during volcanic eruptions. The internal energy released due to the endogenetic movements occurring in this layer is mainly responsible for mountain building rifts and volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, etc. The lower mantle. The lower mantle is the liquid inner layer of the earth. Below the surface, it is found below the upper mantle and above the core. it increases with the depth. Increasing pressure is the reason behind this. The density of lower mantle is about 5.7 grams per centimeter cube. The last one is the core. The part of the Earth's interior extending from the mantle up to the center of the Earth is the core. This layer can be divided into two layers, that is the outer core and the inner core. Outer core extends from around 2900 kilometers to 5100 kilometers. Scientists believe that the core could be liquid or semi-liquid in nature. The density of the outer core is 9.8 grams per centimeter cube. The temperature of the liquid outer core is around 5000 degrees Celsius. Next is the inner core. Inner core extends from around 5150 kilometers to the depth of around 6371 kilometers. It is the core of the earth, which is in the solid state. The density of the sphere is around 13.3 grams per centimeter cube. Iron, which stands for Fe, and nickel, stands for Ni, are the major elements found here. Hence, the inner core is also known as the knife. Thanks students for watching the video, and I hope that you like the video.